Hello friends, welcome to yet another session on essay perspectives. The topic for today is girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands, two equally harmful disciplines. As always, I have a personal request friends. Third edition of my book Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude has unfortunately been pirated. Pirated copies are of very low paper and print quality. I urge all the readers to buy Original books can be bought from the seller Arvind India from Flipkart, affordable from Amazon. Friends, this essay can be conceptualized as being made of various components and subcomponents. So the first we would introduce the topic, then we would discuss on the essence of the topic. Then we would discuss how restrictions weigh down girls. Then we would discuss how demands weigh down boys. Then we discuss are these disciplines gender specific. Then we discuss whether restrictions and demands always harmful. Then we attempt to arrive at the right measure of restrictions and demands for anybody's life. Then we would finally conclude. Friends, I think the best way to start this essay is by referring to civil service aspirants. First, let us take female civil service aspirants. So as we can observe from amongst our own friends actually, so most of these female aspirants face restrictions. One, most of the parents would not send them to Delhi or Bangalore or some other places to pursue any courses or to take up test series. Second, many civil service aspirants, even if the parents send their daughters to Delhi or Bangalore to some other places where the better coaching is available, yet they have this restriction like they should finish clearing this exam in say 2 or 3 years, and then afterwards, so they would be there would be pressure on them to get married off. Correct. So sometimes even after marriage also some aspirants fight with every family member and continue their preparation. So after that, the another restriction of childbearing comes into play. Correct. So then of course, so these are all the various restrictions which a female civil service aspirant has to cross in order to become a civil servant. It's not easy, right? Now let us talk about male civil service aspirants. Just as there are restrictions to female civil service aspirants, there are responsibilities to male civil service aspirants. See, most of them have to take up the responsibility of the family, of their families, of nurturing their families, taking their family forward. Very soon. So they are bogged down by responsibilities, just as female aspirants are bogged down by restrictions. So male aspirants have to start earning, they have to marry their sisters off, they have to settle themselves, they have to take care of their parents. If there are any loans, so being raised by the parents, they have to clear off those loans. If they don't have a house, they have to buy a house. So on and so forth. There is no end. So thus, while female civil service aspirants are bogged down by restrictions, male civil service aspirants are bogged down by responsibilities. Those responsibilities are nothing but demands. Correct. So thus I think this is the best way to start this essay. Now let us try to decode the meaning of the essay topic, friends. So the first one is there are three key terms: restriction, demand, discipline. So what is restriction, friends? Restrictions are basically obstacles, shackles. Correct. So restrictions are those conditions that do not allow a person to do what he or she wants to do. That is the simplest meaning of restriction. Next comes demands. Demands imply responsibilities. Demands imply expectations. Correct. So thus demands are those conditions that prescribe a person to deliver something instantly within the short duration. Correct. A person is expected to deliver something in a short duration. So that psychological condition is what we call demand. Correct. So thus a person who is under the influence of being demanded has to deliver soon. He doesn't have much time to settle himself before he or she starts delivering. Then comes discipline. What is discipline? Discipline means it's a practice wherein a person is supposed to strictly comply to that. That is what we call discipline, right? A person is disciplined when he or she, is supposed to wake up at 6 and he wakes up at 6. If he or she does not wake up at 6, then for non-compliance, he or she would be subjected to some penalty, correct? So basically discipline means prescription of a task and ensuring execution of the task by prescribing punishments for non-compliance of those tasks. So this is discipline basically. So now let us bring all the three together to decode the essence of the essay topic. Thus, this essay topic essentially means both boys and girls are subjected to a discipline. For boys, the discipline gets manifested in the nature of responsibilities. For girls, discipline gets manifested in the nature of restrictions. Correct? So, if the boys do not comply with the responsibilities, they would attract some penalty. Maybe disapproval from the family, scoldings, or negligence, etc., or non-extension of the requisite emotional moral support, etc. So similarly, the girls are also subjected to some restrictions, and if they try to get themselves unshackled from those restrictions, if they try to overcome those restrictions, then they also would be subjected to some penalty, correct? So these responsibilities for boys and these restrictions for girls make them overburdened, make them unhappy, and these two things pin them down so much that they would not be able to realize their mission. They would not be able to accomplish their goals. Hope I have made the essence clear. So now let's move on, friends. See, now there are two parts to this essay topic. One is girls being weighed down by restrictions, boys being weighed down by responsibility, that is demands. So now first let us discuss as to how restrictions weigh down girls. Firstly, restrictions kill the spirit to attempt. See friends, if there are restrictions, then a person would not have the urge to attempt something new, correct? See, let us think about a girl in a village. Let us say that girl is very sharp girl, studious. She is sharp, she is studious, she wants to do something big, correct? Now she is from a remote area. There is no college for her for 11th standard and 12th standard in her village. So she has to travel to a nearby town to study. And she is very well aware that her parents cannot afford her travel. Second, her parents would not send her to another place for her to get educated. So when she is aware of these two things, when she has these restrictions, most of the times she doesn't even try to attempt to convince them to send her for further studies. So she thinks that anyway they would not send her, so she would keep quiet. So these restrictions are very tricky. So let us take the example of a married woman. So let us say a married woman has got some business idea. She really wants to start a business. But though she gets the business idea, she dismisses that business idea the very next moment, thinking that she does not have money, or her husband does not allow her to go to other places to learn how to do business, or her in-laws would not lend her any money, would not allow her to pledge her jewelry to raise loan to start business. Correct. So there are so many restrictions, so that actually pin down a woman so much so that she would not even attempt to proceed. Thus, the spirit to attempt gets killed in the very beginning. Friends, as we are all aware, any long journey would start with a simple step, correct? But here, women would, because of restrictions, women would not dare to take that very first step itself. So, over a period of time, their spirit of initiative would only get watered down. And the next thing is, because of these restrictions, there would be no learning, no wholesome personality development. So, friends, actually, when would our personality gets refined? When would we become a mature individuals? It is only when you attempt something, when you undertake a task, and then when you gain some experience out of it. So, then you incorporate your learnings and experiences into your personality. Correct? So, you attempt something, you understand that what have you done well, what have you not done well. Then, okay, whatever you have done well, so you try to continue the same. Whatever you have not done well, you try to think of some other better way to do things. Okay, only when you do, when you incorporate such learnings into your personality becomes more wholesome, more refined. Correct. But here, so because of restrictions, women don't attempt only. When they don't attempt, they don't learn. When they don't learn, their personality remains very meek, very immature. Correct? It's quite natural. So let us take the same example of the same village girl who is restricted from study, who is restricted to discontinue her education. So she stays back in the same village. Had she gone to the nearby town, she would have learnt to travel on her own. She would have learnt to manage her own things. She would have learnt to strike conversation with the strangers. Thus, all these traits do not get incorporated into her personality. So she remains what she is. So she doesn't improve at all. Correct? Then the third reason why restrictions weigh down girls is half-hearted efforts. See, restrictions force a woman to not to put her efforts fully. See, let us take the example of a working woman. So the working woman, she is in some job, she is pursuing her some career, but once she gets conceived, then her career progression automatically gets stifled. She has a baby, so she has to manage both work and family. So it becomes really so this actually she would not be able to give her 100%. See, let us think about a civil service aspirant, so who has just delivered a baby. Can she put the same amount of effort which is put by a bachelor aspirant, a bachelor male aspirant? Absolutely no, right? So these restrictions would actually prevent a woman from giving her heart and soul into what she does somehow. So when she would not be able to give her 100%, so the results actually, the probability of success dwindles. So when this probability of success dwindles, she gets demotivated, loses her hope, loses confidence. And the last reason why a women get down by restrictions is that restrictions would not allow a woman to convert her thought into action. Her thought may be yes, but she has to act no. So this discard, only when thoughts and actions synchronize, then only a person would be able to realize his or her full potential. But in the case of women, in most of the times, there is always this discard between thought and action. So this discard would not let her realize full potential. Correct? Then, after discussing as to how restrictions weigh down girls, now we have to discuss as to how demands weigh down boys. Demands weigh down boys in the following three ways. First is short-term choices. See, demands, that is responsibilities, force boys to opt for short-term choices rather than long-term choices. All of us have come across most of our classmates after 10th standard who chose to take up vocational courses instead of mainstream education only because vocational courses would help them get jobs immediately. Let us say after 6 months or 1 year they have a job in hand. Correct? So because their scenarios, their responsibilities are so huge that they don't have the luxury to wait for a longer period to land in a better job. Correct? Thus this responsibilities, this demand force boys to opt for short-term choices. The second thing is stress. See, these responsibilities and demands are create so much pressure on boys that they would not be able to deliver. So they are always in that pressure cooker kind of a thing. So they have to necessarily work hard, they have to necessarily land in a good job, they have to necessarily clear off their parents' debts, they have to necessarily get their sisters married, they have to necessarily have some emergency fund to tide over family emergencies, etc., etc., etc. The best example is Raju Rastogi of Three Idiots, friends. So all of you can relate to it. So Raju Rastogi, though a brilliant chap, was bogged down by the demands. So his father was sick. He had to get his sister married off. So the groom is demanding Maruti. So he has to accumulate money to buy Maruti, etc., etc. Maruti car, I mean. So thus, this stress does not let a person to realize his or her full potential. Next, low risk taking ability. Friends, when there are no responsibilities, a person's ability to take risk is higher. So thus the quantum of responsibilities and a person's risk taking ability are inversely proportional. Let us say a person need not have to, his parents are well settled. Let us think of a boy whose parents are well settled. They have an established business. Okay, he need not have to take care of his parents. He doesn't have any sister he has to get married off. Then he can take 5 years. He can take 6 years or 7 years to settle also, so nobody would question. Or he can start business one, he can burn his fingers for 2 years, then he can realize his mistake, then he can go to business 2, etc., etc. So his ability to absorb the risk and tide over that risk is higher for boy who is very well settled. Correct? But in most of the cases, so there are so many responsibilities, so much demand, so they don't take risk at all. Have we not come across aspirants who really have their heart calling them to civil services, yet they cannot quit job for 1 year to give 100% preparation? Correct? So thus it is a very tricky choice. So these are the three major factors that activate responsibilities. These three factors activated by responsibilities, so weighing down boys. Okay, after this discussion, friends, now we have said restrictions about, we have discussed as to how restrictions weigh down girls and how responsibilities weigh down boys. Now, friends, don't you think these restrictions and responsibilities are not gender specific? See, the next question to ponder is, are these disciplines gender specific? What I actually mean is, would restrictions hamper women only and responsibilities hamper men only? No, right? It is not at all so. Both these responsibilities and restrictions, regardless of gender, they harm a person. They are harmful disciplines. Restrictions equally harm men, equally harm women. Responsibilities or demands equally harm women, harm men. So thus they are not gender specific. So it's important for you to insert 1 or 2 para to set the stage and make it clear that they are not gender specific. However, The impact of restrictions on girls is higher than the impact of restrictions on boys. Similarly, the impact of demands on boys is higher than their impact on girls. So it is just a matter of degree, it's just a matter of magnitude. So restrictions trouble girls more while demands trouble boys more, but both have the potential to trouble everyone regardless of gender. Then friends, don't you, okay, all this while we have discussed as to these disciplines are harmful, but friends, are restrictions and demands always harmful, friends? So we have to pause a bit and then have to counter the essay statement itself. So friends, for intrinsically responsible individuals, they are harmful. I am a responsible guy. I want to come up in life. I want to realize my potential. When I am trying very hard to realize my potential, I am not given time because of responsibilities. I am not allowed to pursue my heart because of restrictions. Correct? If I am a responsible individual, then these two restrictions and responsibilities are harmful. Correct? But yet they are catalysts at times. How can they be catalysts? Friends, sometimes it's a very interesting thought. See, let us say a woman, the parents tell a girl, we have to get you married at the age of 24. Now you are 21. You have only 3 years to pursue your dream. Whatever you want to do, you do. But after 24, we will definitely get you married. Then this restriction catalyze a woman, catalyze intrinsically responsible women, and she becomes very serious. Her efforts multiply manifold. In normal scenario, perhaps she would have taken her own sweet time to put up her own plan, to execute the plan. But now she knows that she doesn't have much time. Time is running very fast. So what she would do? She would put up her plan quickly, she would try to execute quickly, she would leave no stone unturned to realize her dream because the time is low. Don't you think that her efforts, her commitment is catalyzed, is increased manifold only by this restriction? Yes, same is the case with boys. So let us say there is a student, he knows the poverty at his home, then he has to necessarily do something by hook or crook. He has to get into good job. By hook or crook, he has to take care of his family. Then that responsibility pushes him so hard that in the normal scenario he may have put 2 hours of efforts, but here he would put 3 hours of efforts. So thus, though they are harmful, but they act as catalysts for intrinsically responsible individuals. Now, for intrinsically irresponsible individuals, they are actually helpful. So there are so many people in the society who do not have goal. There are so many people who are really not serious about their lives. Correct? They just go with the flow of life. In such scenario, and they are irresponsible. Some people have this negative orientation, so they have negative traits also. Let us say, there are some persons who are irresponsible, who want to enjoy life. So, if there are no restrictions, then such persons would end up as drug addicts, such persons would end up as drunkards, such persons would end up as antisocial elements. Correct? So, thus, restrictions and responsibilities would at least prevent such individuals from treading evil path. So for intrinsically responsible individuals, though they are harmful, they have the potential to catalyze their efforts. For intrinsically responsible individuals, absolutely they are helpful. They would at least prevent them from going from bad to worse. Correct? So thus it is a very important thing. So let us talk about this intrinsically responsible individuals. They are harmful, yet they act as catalyst. Correct? So thus it is the right balance that we need to strike. When would a restriction become harmful? When would it act as catalyst? This understanding is what is very much needed. If, see, let us say, coming to the old example of 3 years being given to a girl to clear civil service examination, despite her hard work, despite her best efforts, if she is not able to clear that exam in 3 attempts, then restrictions become a problem. Then they become harmful. Correct? See, she has put all her efforts, but it doesn't work out. Then she needs one more attempt, but that restriction doesn't allow her to take up that another attempt. So that is when these restrictions and responsibilities become harmful. Until then, they are catalysts. Then how do we arrive at that right measure? How do we arrive at right measure? And how do we manage this? The first thing is, how do you manage restrictions? The best way to manage restrictions is understand and then only get unshackled from those restrictions, and then only try to get unshackled from those restrictions. See, all restrictions are not bad. So there are some restrictions, as I already told you, some restrictions actually help us perform better. So first a person has to, rather than protesting against restrictions always, a person has to first understand that restriction first. Why is that restriction? How is it troubling me? Correct? So for example, woman is forced to get married. She wants to study more, or she wants to pursue her career. Then first she has to understand that restrictions. Okay, why there? Because my parents also are concerned about my personal life, so they want me to have a partner so that my life gets settled. So first understand that restriction. Then how do you get unshackled? Then speak to the guy whom you are getting married, all your aspirations, and seek his approval to pursue your passion. Maybe you can ask him to allow you to study more. Maybe you can ask him to allow you to postpone the baby for a few more years. Correct? So thus you first understand the restriction and then try to get unshackled. Then demand. How do you manage this? See friends, demands, you cannot run away from those demands. You cannot run away from those responsibilities. So you have to categorize the responsibilities between the immediate responsibilities and not so immediate responsibilities. Try to meet the immediate responsibilities, take time, pursue your mission, then go to the next set of responsibilities. So this is a very smart art. See friends, I am reminded of the example of my batchmate in Madhya Pradesh, Kadar, by name Balguru. His story is very inspirational. You can Google it. But nonetheless, see friends, actually he was a 10th, he had just finished 10th standard, but he wanted to become an IAS officer. His father had passed away when he was in 8th standard, I guess. So he had to get his sister married. He had to run the family. So then what he did, immediately he went to Coimbatore. He landed in a small furniture shop as furniture delivery boy. So he accumulated some money for 1 or 2 years, and then first he got his sister married. Once he successfully completed his responsibility, then he started focusing on his civil service preparation. So thus it is an art. It is not a science, it's an art. So this smart way of managing the responsibilities would help a person to realize his potentials, at the same time manage take up the responsibilities as well. So after all this discussion, now it is time for conclusion, friends. We can very well conclude that both restrictions and responsibilities or demands are harmful for intrinsically responsible individuals, but not for intrinsically irresponsible individuals. Even for intrinsically responsible individuals, if this if these disciplines are looked upon as an opportunity instead of as a threat, then they have the potential to catalyze their abilities. Correct? So though they are harmful, a person a responsible person should have the knack to manage these disciplines in such a way that they don't trouble his dreams, but in turn prod him to realize his or her potential. Okay friends, thank you. Meet you next week with another topic.